where sin runs deep. Your grace is more. Your grace is found, is where you are. Where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Teach my song to rise to you when temptation comes my way. When I cannot stand, I'll fall on you. Jesus, you're my hope and stay. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before, oh my soul. Worship Your holy name. The sun comes up. It's a new day dawning. It's time to sing your song again. Whatever may pass and whatever lies before me, let me be singing when the evening comes. Bless the Lord, oh my soul. Oh, my soul, worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh, my soul, worship Your holy name. You're rich in love and you're slow to anger. Your name is great and your heart is kind. For all Your goodness I will keep on singing. 10,000 reasons for my heart to find. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His holy name. Sing like never before. Oh my soul, worship Your holy name. And on that day when my strength is failing, the end draws near and my time has come. Still my soul will sing Your praise unending. 10,000 years and then forevermore. Bless the Lord, oh my soul, oh my soul. Worship His I come, I confess, bowing here, I find my rest. Without you, I fall apart. You're the one that guides my heart. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you. Every hour I need you. My one defense, my righteousness. Oh God, how I need you. Where sin runs deep, your grace is more. Where grace is found is where you are. Where you are, Lord, I am free. Holiness is Christ in me. Lord, I need you. Oh, I need you.
Hi, everybody, and welcome to Follow Your Faith. And our topic tonight is finding happiness and at the same time, how we change our world, because they kind of go together for all of us. Isn't it interesting? You ever put those two things together? Finding happiness and changing our world. But if you think about it for a moment, they are two topics that really do go together for all of us. We'll try to explain that as we go here tonight. But let's begin, first of all, with a prayer. And hopefully, folks, you're welcome to join us and dialogue with us a little bit, and just jump in there and use our YouTube channel and comments and any questions and anything else. But let's begin. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit, amen. Heavenly Father, we all seek happiness. However, we oftentimes look for it in the most remarkable places, in that pearl of great price. Oftentimes, we don't seem to know where to look for it. We take roads that look easy or look glitzy or glamorous, but we miss the road that brings us true happiness and meaning and purpose in our lives. And Lord, don't we all want to change our world that seems to be so much on fire? So bless us tonight as we talk about these two important topics that we bring together into one. Bless us tonight. Give us your wisdom, your peace, and most especially give us your heart. And we ask this to Christ our Lord. Amen. So very interesting to put these two together.
Well, thank you, Nicky Gumbel, because we're using a Nicky Gumbel book again. This is the one called The Jesus Lifestyle, which is hard to find.
Yeah.
Just tell you, if you go out to try to find it. I was just telling, I ordered my copy and it'll be here December 22nd. I said, well, I thought I needed it a little sooner than that. But, and I mean, the whole thing about the secret to happiness, I think we need to establish right off the get-go. Gurus were not. We're not going to say anything tonight that's going to guarantee you happiness.
Of course not. Yes, there's a good start.
But a lot of people think there's some way, and there's plenty of people out there that will tell you for $19.95 a month for the next 100 years, I can get you happy.
Yeah.
There is no one.
You know, that is a really profound statement. Boy, I tell you, that's a good start there,
I
Mark.
didn't put it in the script, and I went off script.
I know.
And you like it.
Before we even started, he did it. Okay. But I think that's so right. You know, everybody I read that I find to be wise, brilliant people in many ways say that there is no secret where you and I will be sitting down sometime, putting up our feet, drinking our latte and watching whatever it is that you might watch on television. All of a sudden, everything is just fine. I have found everything and my heart is completely at peace. No more restlessness. never going to happen. And so it's the journey. We're going to be talking about, and I think that's the first really important thing to say. It is all still part of the hero's journey, or the heroine's journey is a journey that continues to the moment that we die, and even after that, I think. And so let's not think somewhere along the way in the next hour that we're going to somehow give you some magic formula. And I think people are looking for, I tell you what, I thought the spiritual life for the longest time in my life, there's some other, I was going to find this magic silver bullet or whatever it was that was somehow going to make it all work. I have given up that search, and that is not what happiness is, and that's what we're about. That's what we're about here today.
Yeah, and I think there are those people out there that will tell you. And I mean, you see the ads, you'll see, if you take this pill, you're going to be happy.
Sure.
If you buy into this program, you're going to be happy. If
buy
you
this
put
car.
buy this car, you'll be happy. You buy this lotion and put it on, at midnight, you're going to be happy. And happiness, that's another one. Like, I think it's a different definition for every single person. So there is no broad way, right?
Correct.
That also makes it sound, though, like we're saying, well, don't bother because you can't find it. And that's not
true either.
At all.
Right. That'd be the opposite extreme. There is a happiness to be found. There is a contentment to be found. There is a joy to be found in this life.
And when you talked about steps, I thought that was interesting. We were just chatting before we started here today. We're talking about a very vibrant part of this parish, which is small groups. And small groups provide, at least they have the opportunity to provide a pathway to happiness. Because as individuals, I mean, you might go to a small group, and for the ones that I've been in, and you might start to talk about something, you're thinking, well, nobody wants to talk about this, nobody wants to listen to this, and then around the room you go, oh, right? So small groups can help define what can be a small part of happiness, right? Happiness is not this big organic thing that we're all going to...
That I can somehow control.
Yeah, we can't, can we?
Yeah, and it's not something that, it's something that is, that we live our lives, so we don't somehow all of a sudden grab a hold of this control. And I'm glad you brought this small group thing, because I just left a little bit ago. One of the small groups was having their Thanksgiving dinner together. It was so beautiful. Was it Rick Bowser's house? Janet and Rick were put it together. I don't remember all the different small group. It's a rather large small group. I think it was 20 people around this table.
Yeah, that's amazing.
They're having their Thanksgiving dinner together, and they were happy to be together, to be with one another, and to be able to do that. And they were thanking God. Our topic for next week, they were thanking God for being together. And I asked them to take a few pictures so we can put them up on Facebook or Instagram. And there was a certain joy in that room. I was glad to be with them for the 15, 20 minutes that I was. But there is a joy of being together, being with people that you love, being people that you share life with. There's small groups at its best. And I am grateful to all you who are involved with your 24 different small groups that we have. I'm just very grateful to all of you, and what a wonderful thing during this time of the year.
Yeah, small group is not exact. I mean, it's not a place you're going to go and get all the answers to all the questions you have.
Yeah.
But it may focus. I think that's one thing it helps to do, is it helps us to focus on what it is that we're searching for, right?
Right.
But happiness, I mean, again, who doesn't search for happiness? Nicky Gumbel, in his book, The Jesus Lifestyle, writes that Jesus taught that true happiness is not about how we feel. True happiness is instead, it's what matters most in life. So often we judge people by what they do. What's your job, your achievement? What kind of school did you go to?
So obviously they're not the things that matter most in life.
Yeah, wealth, looks, friends, possessions. We've been taught by secular, by the advertising. I mean, come on, that's the whole thing. Every time you're looking at that, it's not to make you sad. It's you use our product, it'll make you happy. So we've been taught that to be happy, you got to have all these things.
And a lot of times people buy in hook, line, and sinker. I have to say, I guess my high school years is one thing, but especially after that in college and different things, there was a image of the cool man or something like that, whatever that cool man was image. I don't know. But boy, I think unconsciously I wanted to be that. Somehow, with the women, I wanted to be that, wanted to look successful. And yet deep down inside, I was so insecure, I can't begin to tell you how insecure I was.
You're old enough to remember one of the biggest ironies. You remember the Marlboro Man?
Oh yeah,
Okay,
yes I
the
do.
Marlboro
Yeah,
Man was just this epitome of just masculinity and success.
yeah, yeah.
And then, of course, we didn't know that he was slowly killing himself by smoking the cigarettes. But
Yeah.
the point is, they created that image that's how you be happy, right?
Now this might, I don't know if this.
Now, there's a lot of people watching going, what's the Marlboro Man?
Yeah, this is a G-rated show, but anyway, I have to say, I'll confess, the Playboy image of the cool man, of what that cool man was. I don't know. Maybe I'm not saying the cool man, but all together man or whatever that image. I can't imagine anybody in my life at that time of my life. It's kind of funny. One thing before my conversion time at the age of 24, I always wanted to be something other than what I was. I was never satisfied with
We all
myself.
do that, don't we?
And then once Jesus kind of broke into my life, I never wanted to really be anybody else. I never wanted to be the Lone Ranger. I never wanted to be that cool guy. I never wanted to be, I began to be comfortable in my own skin. And I think that's part of being happy, even though they're way off our topic here. But I was, and I hear a lot of, sometimes people say, I'm envious of this person or envious of that person. That person looks happier
all the
than me.
time, all the time.
I am envious of nobody. There is nobody else and I see that I'm interested in wanting to be or be like. Not that I'm so great, but somewhere along the way, I'm just sort of comfortable in my own skin. This is with all the mess that I am too.
Well, and that's a noble place for you to be, but how many people do you think really are comfortable to be in their own skin? My thought would be,
Yeah, I don't
I
know.
may be wrong here, but I would think most are not. Most are trying to be something, not necessarily wanting everything the best, but I think striving enough to say, why can't I do that? Or why couldn't that have happened to me?
Or they compare themselves to other people all the time.
All the time.
Who does that, folks? Anybody want to admit maybe somewhere in the way that you might be?
Jerry, do you have something
Yeah,
you
I
were
wanted to let you know, Linda Fleming said we're all listening. Thanks for that's the small group.
Oh,
That's
so
the
in
small
other
group.
words,
That's the one.
He promised her that she would put. No, I'm
No.
kidding. I'm kidding.
But I wanted to say,
But I want to say, yeah, thank you, Linda. It was you guys. How was dinner? Dinner was great. I'm hoping. It looked
it's a
good.
big thing to strive to be like someone that we're not.
Yeah.
Never
yeah.
finding happiness. Merton said something like, artists who never become artists, and saints that never become saints because they don't first become themselves. Always trying to, we're not supposed to imitate other people. In fact, we're not supposed to imitate saints. We're
We're going to get to that
Be
here
ourselves.
today. Yeah.
Yeah.
We're going to get to that. Part of being happy is being yourself. That's part of happiness.
Which so few people genuinely. And I think part of the problem is too, if you are yourself and you know your faults,
Yes. I
it's
do.
very hard to look past that because you're thinking, I'm not as good as that person over there. Because and the point is, you have no idea what that person did.
You have no
You're
idea.
a classic example because you've told it before. You just told it again. Before the age of 24, you weren't the best person
I was.
on the planet.
Oh,
You've said that a number of times, but
Yeah.
somebody knowing you now would look at you and say, look at this guy. He carries himself so well. He's got this beautiful parish in a very nice part of town. He's a priest. He's got it all, and he's probably been like this since the day he was born. We think you must
now,
be.
Russ, you're watching this probably. My brother Russ is probably
Okay, so
watching this.
now we're going to get
And
into
he's
the
got,
real
the rest of the story, the rest goes, I was a jerk. I mean, by every standard. And the woman that I dated back in those days, I don't have a clue what she saw in me and any of that stuff. But that they were very troubled times in my life. And that's when the search began for me. Very troubled times.
But you would be someone who you would look upon and say, "Oh, that's happy. That's a success." Without and I don't mean
and not knowing me, that my
but
struggles.
that's the whole point. None of us know anybody. I mean, we don't know that person standing next to us. We think, we do, but we don't. Nicky Gumbel tells his story, and Nicky Gumbel was not. I mean, he's a Christian now, but he wasn't always a Christian.
Right,
If
yeah.
you've done Alpha, you've heard him talk about where he began. And in the book, he writes, when I became Christian, I realized the more I looked at Jesus and his teaching, the more aware I became of how far I fell short. The more I read the Sermon on the Mount, the more I became aware of my weakness and sinfulness. All I've been able to say is, God have mercy on me, a sinner. And as I was reading that, I'm going, okay, that's me, that's somebody. I mean, it sounds like a lot of us.
Now, you kind of got into where Nicky Gumbel's really going with all this. He's talking about the Beatitudes as the way to this happiness that we're talking about here. Not happiness as a state that I somehow arrive at,
Right,
but happiness as a way of which I live my life. And first of all, this just to go back to the beginning, he quotes George Michael, the singer. Well, it looks like a road to heaven, but it feels like the road to hell. Now, back in my day, my pre-24-year-old days, this is what I thought the world meant by happiness. Nightclubs, the drinking, everything else. I'll just kind of leave it all that stuff, everything else that I was doing, and it was the road to hell. I was completely, I was depressed a lot. I was lonely a lot. And I thought, this is the world. And I kept on trying to find this road to happiness, but it was a road to hell. Now, Nicky Gumbel begins to talk about the Beatitudes. In the first one, blessed are the poor in spirit. And here's the way he says it. It's kind of funny how he puts it in here. True. And by the way, the word beatitude means happiness, by the way, with all that.
Right.
So true happiness comes from being depressed. What are you talking about? Blessed are those who are poor in spirit. Blessed are those who know they need God. That would have been me. I need God. I need something in my life because whatever it is I'm doing isn't working because I was depressed. And so blessed are those who are depressed and in some fashion begin to search for the meaning of life because they begin to realize they need God. Now the second one with all that, so he said, first of all, needing God. That's and by the way, these are all sequential. So the second one, which you brought up, Marty, just here, is blessed are those who mourn. Now, there's a lot to mourn about in our world today. We could be very, very sad about what's going on in the Middle East. Very, very sad what's going on in Ukraine. Very, very sad what's going on in our own government. Very, very sad about all the different mass shootings that are going on in our world and our culture. But also very sad about my own brokenness. Now, I would say it this way. Now, there's two things. When you begin to grow in the spiritual life, you're going to recognize two things going on in your life. Number one, I begin to realize that I am loved, and I am accepted, and I belong. And along with that, I begin to realize my own sin, my own brokenness, my own weakness, and there's a quote that I read someplace. I thought it was in a catechism, but I don't know where it was. It says, "I could not bear myself if it were not be for two things. I am loved and I'm forgiven." So once I begin to realize I'm loved and I'm forgiven, then God begins to show us the real depth of who we are and our sinfulness and our duplicity and all the different things that you just sort of brought up. And that's kind of called self-knowledge. I begin to realize how much I do fall short. And that is always present in my life. Even there's a certain happiness in our lives that's always present, that you have failed at certain things, you make mistakes, you open your mouth when you shouldn't, you got to shut up, and so you kind of know those things about yourself. And what it does, on the flip side, it helps you to be a person of compassion.
When you, I'm curious, when you were at that stage of your life where you knew where you were was not where you wanted to be.
I knew that much.
You didn't really know where you were supposed to
Exactly.
be. You just knew where you were. That was not a good place to be. Did you seek happiness from people? Did you go to people and say, you know what? You seem to be pretty level-headed. I've got some issues. Was there a way for you to reach out to people? Because I don't think enough of us do that.
That's a good, interesting question. First of all, I stopped doing things. That's the first thing I did. All the different things I was doing that I thought was messing up my life, the drinking, the smoking, the different things, I stopped things first. That's what I did first. I tried to get cleaned up a little bit in my own life. And the second thing I did, I lived in Altoona by myself. Lived in my own little apartment by myself. I live in a trailer, I live in a 40 by 8 trailer in Greenwood, Brentwood area up there. I don't know if somebody knows where that is.
Yeah.
And I could touch the walls of the trailer. And I was teaching at Bellwood at the same time, but I could touch the two walls this way. It was anyway. It was okay for me. But that's when I started to read. And eventually, slowly, I started to read the Bible. And the part of the Bible I started to read was Proverbs, because I didn't know left from right. I didn't know up from down. And so I started to read that to try to give myself some balance. So I started to read, and I started to go back to church a little bit. And every time I would walk into the church, this is back when I was just going to a Catholic church that was close by, I started to cry. And I would cry through the entire liturgy. And believe me, there was nothing inspiring going on, but I just sitting there, I would cry. And God bless poor Linda. She would sit there with me. She would come up on the weekend. She would sit there with me and she would, what is the matter with you? I said, I don't know. I just don't know. I would just cry through this whole thing. So I try to quit doing things. I tried to read some stuff. I started reading things like Norman Vincent Peale. Remember him?
Mm-hmm.
I forget who else I started to read with all that. And I started to do this thing where I actually went to church and I just sat there. I didn't go to communion. I didn't do anything. I just sat there.
When you thought about seminary, when you thought that maybe this was the path, I can't even imagine, like, how would you get there? And did you go in thinking, oh, I can't tell them all this. I can't.
Oh, yes, I did.
Right.
Yeah, I did.
I can't tell them because they're not going to want me.
Yeah.
I can't be happy in a seminary if I'm doing all this other stuff. And
Now, that was 4 years later, but I went to the seminary and I decided to tell my spiritual director, Father Anthony Minocchio, my story. And I thought, if they're going to kick me out, I'm not going to wait a couple of years before they do it. They might as well kick me out now and do all this.
But you defined what you were doing at the time you were doing it as happiness.
I thought this was, first of all, I thought this is what the world was offering as happiness. It brought me nothing but sadness, brokenness, depression, and anxiety.
And I would think that helps you when you are asked to counsel or meet with people about having situations in their life. I mean, it's not the same, but in my career, I could point to, and still do, to young people and say, okay, here's why you think the way you think. And if you go on that, here's what's going to happen to you because, I've been there, done that kind of thing. And I would think that would be a big plus for you, but it can't be an easy thing for you.
It depends on two things.
Okay.
Number one, are they really looking?
Yeah.
Number two, have they begun to see Jesus? If they're not really looking, no matter what you say,
You're not going to reach them.
no, you're not reach them. Not at all. They're not letting. You can tell when somebody's really not looking. You're like, why are we're banging our head against the wall here?
Well, I think in a lot of instances, especially you being a priest, they think, well, if I go to him and if he absolves me or if he buys into this or if he tells me don't worry about it, there I am, happy again.
Right. I give permission for them to live a stupid life. Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Gumbo, this was interesting. He says there are two mistaken views about the Christian life. I never really thought about this till I read this. One is that Christians should never be happy, always carrying the world's cares on their shoulders, and that there should never be smiling or laughter in church. As I read that, I thought, you know what? He's right. I remember that growing up. Oh, no. You can't be like that. For example, and I still hear it today. I told you, this is why you're a Protestant. We do a hymn at Omos and we clap for the last stanza, right?
Yeah.
And it's like, what are you guys doing? You're not supposed to be Where was that written, right? Where did that come from? But that's...
Even when the song we just sang said timbrel and dance and drums and pipes and
but
everything else.
When that happens, that's the first time I saw it here, and I didn't realize it was something that happens from time to time, but it was like, okay, I get it. This is a happy time. These people are happy.
Yeah.
Now, I'll be honest, I haven't started the clap yet. I can't get there. Maybe I will someday, but it just seems...
We old white people.
Yeah, I'm just saying, it's hard for me to get to that. But the point is that all my life, religion was not about being happy. Church was not about being happy to be alive and welcoming. I mean, think of all the time when Vatican
And still
II
isn't. It
and
still
we started-
isn't.
And we started with the sign of peace. I knew priests that wouldn't do that. right?
Oh, there's ones that don't do it now.
They don't do it now. That's
Yeah,
my point.
yeah,
There was like, that's what religion was. That's what being a Christian was. And that's not what being a Christian is.
No. And by the way, you realize that Nicky Gumbel is Anglican.
Yes.
They're worse than us.
Exactly.
You know, they're worse than us.
Exactly.
So-
Well, plus he's a lawyer, so he's
Yeah,
got
yeah.
2 strikes against him.
Yeah,
No,
yeah.
but you know, people, that's how we were taught. That's how we were raised, that you shouldn't be happy in places you're not supposed to be happy.
There's a book, I don't remember the title of it, but the first chapter of the book was called, I won't tell you the real chapter, the title. You can guess. This was actually the chapter title, and I'll change it so it's more G-rated. The title was That Crap. Now you can take a guess.
No, I got it.
What it
Yeah,
was.
I
Okay.
got it.
The reason why the title of the chapter is because this was back in the day. And so this guy goes to church, and it comes right at sign of Christ's peace. He goes to share this with this lady. She turns to him and says, "I don't believe in that crap." so that was and it's like we still haven't gotten there with all that. We have to realize that church on Sunday is not your own private little devotion. It's about you being together with these people.
Right.
And being together with these people, can I say it? Being together with these people is as important than you facing Jesus, because you got to face each other. Now they're making churches like more in the round, which I think is
Why
a good
did they
thing.
do that?
Why did, yeah.
So that
yeah.
you would. It wasn't like everything is, in front of you or behind you. There's nothing to the side of you.
Well, as one person said one time, who actually left the parish one point, says, "I don't care who's behind me. I don't care who's beside me." That kind of misses the point of really being it is a Catholic thing to wonder about who's behind you and beside you and in front of you.
Exactly.
It's a very Catholic thing. So,
All right. Gumbel also writes, back to the Beatitudes, true happiness comes from being broken. And he writes, Jesus seems to agree, because Jesus said, blessed are the meek. Well, how can we be happy if we're not strong and we're broken?
yes. Now, blessed are the meek.
Blessed are the meek. I mean, what does that sound like? Well,
Yeah.
if I'm trying to be strong and I'm out front and I'm headstrong and I'm the leader of the pack, well, no.
And then at one point he says Moses was meek, who was one of the greatest
Exactly.
leaders that out there.
Exactly.
Now, meek would be gentle, considerate. Now,
Yeah.
there's a definition here of meek by this Dr. Martin Lloyd Jones. And I'm going to share this with you because I think this is beautiful. And this is what he quotes as what it means to be meek, which I think is a word we don't understand that
No,
well
we don't.
too well.
No, we don't.
The man who is meek is not even sensitive about himself. And we were just talking before we started how sensitive we are about each other. We're so sensitive. How dare you offend me? And anyway, so we're very sensitive. He is not always watching himself and his own interests. He's not, and forgive the sexist language here. He is not always on the defensive. We all know about this, do we not? It is not one of the greatest curses in life as a result of the fall. This sensitivity about ourselves. I am so offended so quickly about just about anything. And I think in our culture, post-COVID, we are more sensitive than ever. And so he's saying that one of the greatest curses of the fall is that we're sensitive about ourselves. We spend the whole of our lives watching ourselves. I remember one person saying, the Buddhists would say, what is the greatest bane of human existence? And the one Buddhist answered, the family portrait. And I'm thinking, why the family portrait? And he said, what do you look at when you see the family portrait? What's the first thing you look at?
Yourself.
Yeah.
I mean, you talk about, it's my family. Okay,
Yeah.
Of course.
You look at yourself.
I don't look
You
at
know?
anybody else. I look at that. Well, how do I look? Oh, I don't look so good, but then
There's an
I
article
look
in the
better
news.
than the people next to me.
An article in the newspaper, you're reading, you're scanning until you get to your own name. Boom. There,
Oh, yeah.
But when a man becomes meek, he has finished with all of that. No longer worries about himself and what other people say. Who's that person? To be truly meek means we no longer protect ourselves because we see there is nothing worth defending. I love it.
Yeah.
So we are not on the defensive. All that is gone. The man who is truly meek never pities himself. He is never sorry for himself. I got to tell you, folks, I think you want to talk about my weaknesses. I think one of the biggest weaknesses I've had all through my life is feeling sorry for myself. Whenever something goes wrong or I fail and I'm stupid or something, I could feel sorry for myself in an instant. And so, blessed are the meek, Well, that wasn't me. How's he say it here? Blessed are those who are broken. Blessed are those who are meek. Same
Right.
thing. So you accept the fact that you're broken. And obviously, in some sense, I don't accept that all the time. So
Gumbel
anyway,
writes, true happiness, back to the Beatitudes, comes from being deeply dissatisfied when Jesus said, blessed are those who hunger and thirst for righteousness. Gumbel says, so how can you be truly happy if you hunger and thirst? Because you're not sated, you're not satisfied.
yeah. Hungering and thirst for righteousness, right relationships.
There you go.
Right relationship with you, right relationship with my God, right relationship with Jerry, right relationship with myself. And there, I think, is now I get this said these are sequential. Poor in spirit, I know I need God. Secondly, I mourn over my own sinfulness. Thirdly, am I meek? Am I worried about myself? Now I'm looking to be in right relationship with everybody else. By the way, Arlene, I want to give you a shout out. Thank you for sharing that. And I give you a kudos for sharing that, what she shared on the thing right here. But anyway, so I think that's pretty much what that is, to hunger and thirst for righteousness, that we are in right relationships. And if we're looking to be in right relationships with people, I think we're pretty happy.
If we find that right relationship,
yes,
we're
yes.
happy. Maybe we're looking, though, and I guess part of that is it's okay to not be happy, right? I mean, you can't be happy all the time about everything. Don't worry. Don't put, but we do. We put
Yeah.
a lot of emphasis
Yeah.
because the world puts a lot of emphasis on
Yeah.
what will make us happy. Like I said, take this pill, do all
Now
of this.
we're doing, a bunch of us are doing the emotionally healthy spirituality class. Karen, if you're watching still, great kudos for you. She's in a small group, just with us after for a little bit. And the whole thing, we just got a chapter on fighting clean fighting, as opposed to dirty fighting. That was a chapter we had, with all this. Like, how do you fight with somebody in a healthy way as opposed to an unhealthy way?
Okay, help me out there because I don't see the difference. I mean, fighting is always going to be unhealthy.
No, they're saying it's not.
It shouldn't be.
It's not always
It
unhealthy.
has to be clean.
Yes, it can be clean. Now, even
Jerry,
Pat,
do you get into clean
even
fights?
Penn hits,
Yeah.
I like
even
to
Pat
poke 'em in the
Lencioni
eye.
talked about in businesses and in relation in small groups and stuff. There's clean fighting, but they were saying that there is such a thing as clean fighting,
Okay.
and then there's dirty fighting. And by the way, one of the things you do in clean fighting is use I words as opposed to you words.
All right.
Whenever you're using you words all the time, that's considered dirty fighting. Okay.
Okay.
But anyway,
Okay.
the reason why I bring it up is because in the middle of at the end of this whole 2-hour thing we were doing with all this, the author Peter Scazzaro said some relationships only get worked out in heaven. Sometimes you don't get them all worked out. So we can try to be in right relationship with everybody, but that doesn't always happen.
Gumbel, when we are truly desperate, satisfying that hunger or thirst becomes a consuming passion, a grand desire, an overwhelming ambition. And Jesus says we're to have this attitude toward righteousness, So I guess that begs the question, at least it did while I was reading it. So we've got to get to a deeply dissatisfaction before we can find that happiness.
I
Does
think
it make
so.
us want to look for it more?
Yeah, I think so. I would agree with that. Yeah, I would.
So it's okay to be deeply dissatisfied as long as you understand that the challenge is to be dissatisfied, but to find your way out and to find the good in all, right? Am I going the right way?
What's the definition of vision? A vision is deeply dissatisfied of something and the desire to look forward to it in the future. So to be a person of real vision, I think, is to be a person who's dissatisfied with what's around. Yeah,
Okay.
I think we can.
We're going to talk a little bit more about them, but what was the point? I mean, you weren't there, so obviously, and you didn't have a personal conversation with Jesus Christ, but the Beatitudes, because the Beatitudes is a monumental moment in his mission on earth,
Absolutely.
a
Absolutely.
huge thing that I don't know that we talk about.
Actually, you could say that the Beatitudes took the place of the Ten Commandments.
And that had to be
I
disconcerting.
don't think we figured that out yet because we're still using the Ten Commandments all the time.
But do you think, the Jews had to look at that and go, hey, wait a minute, because they would have figured that out too. They would have said, no. That says in commandment, you can't, right?
Yeah.
So
yeah,
that was, he
yeah.
was challenging people to, my view, again, I didn't talk to him, you didn't talk to him, but it seemed to me he's challenging people that there's another way to look at this. There's another way to think about
a
this.
deeper way.
And would that have been accepted, do you think? Or would
I
there have
don't
been a
think
lot
we
of
accept it
pushback?
yet.
Well, okay, that was where I was going. But I mean, back then, those people would have pushed back, right?
Oh yeah, and because look at everybody says, what should you examine your conscience on? The 10 Commandments. Well, have you ever had anybody ever say to you like me, say, I want you to examine your conscience on the Beatitudes, and you would say,
Oh, God, no.
you would say what?
Yeah.
What? You
I
know?
don't know that, to be honest with you. I can remember off the top of my head a few of them, but I don't know them all. I mean,
Now you know the top 4.
yeah, but the Sermon on the Mount, I go, yeah, I got that. I remember that. That's a part of my, whether it's my education or my time at Mass or whatever, that becomes.
And I've never done a really good homily on that. This is the perfect venue for this.
Well, and I think it's hard to there's no easy answers about what all of those things mean, especially we started with the first one, blessed are the meek. It's like, wait a minute. What do you mean, blessed are the meek? What about the rest of us?
Yeah.
And that it's okay to be meek because meek does not mean what you think it means.
Right. It just take your mind off. Now, so what we just did right now, I don't know what time it is right now. What we just did, these are the 4 Beatitudes that Nicky Gumbel says will make you happy. Poor in spirit, mourning, remember, mourning over your sinfulness, meekness, not worrying about yourself all over the place, and seeking right relationship. There's the big 4 that he said is going to make you happy. Now, what do you think about that? Give me a couple thoughts about that. What do you think about that? About those 4. Now we're going to shift the gear.
Well, yeah, because he uses that about changing the world around us. That was the other thing that we were going to talk about.
Yeah.
He said, we basically, the read I got when I went through this is he's saying, he's not lecturing, but he's basically saying, you're ignoring the Beatitudes here. You're not following, and maybe it's because some of them are tough.
They're tough, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
But is that what? I mean, I think we all want to change the world. Well, we all want to change. I want to change my world.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't care about your world. All I'm worried about is changing my world. But in trying to change the world, we ignore a lot of this stuff. don't
Yeah, yes, we do.
we?
Yeah.
And why is that a bad or a good thing? I mean, why shouldn't
Well,
we do
I
that?
think
Isn't it
once
easy to do?
once we do the first 4 Beatitudes and seek true happiness, then we do begin to worry about the world. We worry about not just my own, we worry about the world. And I think we begin to do that. I forget what the next one is, what the first one.
He said, as we consider the needs of the world around us and the extent of individual unhappiness, this page 24, we must ask, is there anything we can do to make a difference? Okay, so if we're the needs of,
yes.
that's
Okay.
about trying to change the world, but there's a lot to it.
Yes. So wanting to make a difference. Yes. I think if you're doing the first 4, especially now you're at right relationships, you're seeking to make a difference.
Why wouldn't that be a something that you'd want to put in a bulletin on? We have our teachings, but those four Beatitudes should be front and center, right?
Yeah, I think you're right about that. Yeah. you
Maybe
are.
we need to, as we start talking about what our mission is and our mission statement and everything, but to remind all of us of those
over
strong,
and over again.
Yeah, because we don't.
Yeah.
So now there you
we
go.
don't. There we go.
It's gonna be a sermon one of these
Maybe
weeks. I know.
it's certainly going to be a.
It's going to be a homily.
It's going
It
to be a
should in the
bulletin. Yeah.
I mean, really, to remind people of why this is.
Now, what do you guys think, by the way? Okay, Russ, God, thanks. Makes sense. We understand the words and what they mean. That makes sense. Now, what do you guys think about those 4 as your path to being a happy person?
Give them the 4 again so that
Okay.
they take
Poor-
notes.
poor in
write these
spirit.
down, right?
Which means I know I need God. Blessed are those who mourn. That means mourn over my own sinfulness, mourn over the failures of but I just mourn over my sinfulness. Thirdly, I'm meek. I don't worry about myself all the time. It's not all about me. And seeking, be hungering and thirsting for righteousness. Those are the big 4 we just covered.
And if we follow those, again, this isn't a magic pill. Do this and you're going to be happy.
Exactly. Yeah.
But
Process.
your life would be better if
Absolutely.
you listen to the lessons in that,
Yeah.
right?
What are you guys thinking about that? Anybody want to shout out and see what you thought about all that? Now we're going to make a shift into how, with that, we begin
Right.
to change the world.
And I think one thing because it was interesting when I saw that, when you said, let's do this chapter and let's do this chapter. And I thought, okay, how do we change the world? Well, part of the problem, I think, is too many of us think we can change everything about the world around us. not necessarily to where it should be good for you, but it'll be good for me. Don't we do that?
Yeah, we can't. Yeah, there's an ego doing all that.
Yeah, I want to change the world so that I get better off, and if it makes you feel better along the way, that's all well and good. But it's all about me.
Yeah.
So, and Gumbel says that you shouldn't put a mask on, but be transparent. That Jesus taught, "Blessed are the poor in heart." There we go, another beatitude. Meaning God is concerned about the inward and the moral rather than the outward and the ceremonial. He wants us to have pure hearts and be utterly sincere. That seems to be pretty simple, that if you want to try to change the world around you, if that's page 27. If you want to live like that, if you want to live about being, worrying more about inward and moral rather than outward and ceremonial, having pure hearts and be utterly sincere, Jerry's got a comment over there. But I mean, that would help us try to change things, right?
Now, we kind of skipped one there. Blessed are the merciful.
Yes.
So the idea of being merciful is don't give people what they deserve. We always think about punishment or all that. God does not punish, or God's punishment is retribution. Is restorative. It restores the person. It doesn't punish them. And so, or retribution. And so the idea of being merciful is not giving people what they deserve. And at one point in all this, I thought was most interesting, maybe it wasn't here, but okay. Anyway, so I think that's an important, we've been merciful. What do you got, Jerry? What do you got?
Okay, this is backing up a little bit.
Sure.
Betty says, these first four sort of break into our egos, finding an
Yeah, Betsy.
wait. I got these popped in. Let me back further up. I'm sorry. Betsy says, mourning our sinful self makes sense, but nothing about mourning those who we have lost. I don't understand that.
All of that, Betty, all that.
And then Linda added, life would be better for ourselves and everyone if we encounter.
Yes,
So I
yes.
And
Yeah,
then
Betsy,
Betty-
that could include that. It can include all those things we mourn, of course. Go ahead,
And
include that.
Betty says, these first four sort of break into our egos. Finding and accepting ourselves are the very tip of our journey to happiness. And Linda says, because the focus is on the greater good.
Yeah, eventually in our spiritual lives, our egos must be subservient to the Spirit. If we don't do that, then we're always going to be thinking just about ourselves and become very unhappy. When our egos are subservient to the true self, I might add, and to the Spirit, the true self is in right relationship with the Spirit, then I think we find happiness. But if our ego is in control, it's a mess. It's always a mess. And so what you just brought up with all that, Marty, was blessed are the poor in heart.
Right.
Which means the ones, I think this is beautiful. So we're trying to change the world. So we're going to change the world, first of all, by being merciful, okay? By not giving people what they deserve, but what God would have them, to reconcile them, to help them to find their way. Now, pure of heart is for us to be ourselves. Again, here we are back at that again, to be transparent. What you see is what you get. Now, when people say that, they're pretty arrogant. They go, "Oh, what you see is what you get," and they're kind of like, in your face. But the whole idea of this being transparent, now I am truly myself. And I'm not trying to be somebody else. Kind of goes on with his idea of being meek a little bit. But I think that is the whole part of it. Jesus made the point that God is concerned about our hearts, our inward motivations, a lot more than just what's going on the outside.
Exactly.
Yeah,
Exactly. So that help. And again, and I want your take on this. If you're talking about what you can do to change the world, we're not talking about monumental stuff here, right? Every
word
day,
was, yeah.
every day, if you do something that helps give somebody, it can be as simple as, I never thought of that, or I never thought of that like that, right? I had a gentleman at Mass one day, and we were getting ready to go to communion, and he didn't go, and I was letting him get out, and he goes, "No, I'm not there yet." And I thought, okay, but it was important to me, or it was like, but you're here, right?
You know what? Amazing! What humility to know there's something very important up there.
You know,
that.
and I wanted to say, okay, I understand where you. I think I know where you're on
Yeah,
your
yeah,
journey.
yeah.
I mean, I'm not trying to presuppose, but the very fact that you were there, right?
In the process. Yeah, he's
And
on the
guess
journey.
what? That is a bit of how to change the world around us. Because I'm standing there thinking, I felt like I should have said, "Hey, look, bless you for being here," but I didn't. You know, it was one of those things. It was just, and he didn't say it to try to change the world. He just was being honest with me. But he did
Honest
change,
with
right?
you. Yes.
honest,
Honest
there you
with
go.
you.
Yeah,
That's the whole
yeah,
thing.
Jerry.
Rick adds, I think Jesus covered all four when he said we should love one another. It's that simple and that difficult.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I guess you could say it that way. Yeah.
And
yeah.
someone, I'll just call them Gypsel, JPSL. There was a booklet written in 1981, The Way to Happiness.
I wonder
don't know
what
if you
it
remember that.
said about all that. The booklet said, who knows what that would be. But I'm sure it's kind of similar. So those are the first two: merciful and clean, pure of heart. The person's pure of heart. They're just themselves.
And now he says, "Blessed are the peacemakers."
Yes,
The
yes.
peacemakers are a big one because a peacemaker desires to bring blessings to other people. Many people around us lack inner peace, but Jesus taught if we make peace, we'll then be called children.
What
of
do you
God.
say to about our culture where there is so much division? Looking at our government, how incredibly divided we are. Blessed are the peacemaker.
Yeah, but we don't know. Yeah, but we don't bless the peacemaker. We tell him, "Get out of this. I don't want your peace." Right?
Yeah. If you're not on our side,
You know.
out.
So if we make peace, I think everybody, I don't know there'd be too many people said, okay, if you make peace between these people, that's going to make the world better. But then the other person's going to say, but why are you sticking your nose in it? Okay. Don't worry about making peace for me. I'll take care of my own peace. You just worry about your peace. And then we go again. You know, we're at that conflict stage.
Now, in the book, Nikki Gumbel tells a story about Rwanda. Now, Rwanda was an absolute total mess, and I remember Bill Clinton one time saying the deepest regret he had of himself as a president of the United States was he didn't do more in Rwanda. I never forget him saying that.
Yeah, the
And-
genocide there was just
Incredible. So there's this guy, and one of the guys, I forget his name, Jean-Claude, or let's say Jean-Claude or something, his name is. There was somebody from he was a Tutsi and from the Hutu tribe, killed 14 members of his family. And he met him in prison one time. And now these families are big. I mean, when they say family, they knew their second, third cousins. They
Yeah,
knew who they
right,
were. They were very close to each other that way. And they befriended each other. He actually befriended a man who killed 14 members of his family. And they began to go around Rwanda. What's the name of the lady from Rwanda who, what's her name? If somebody knows, Linda, look that one up. The lady from Rwanda, there was a book that she wrote about the genocide, and I forget her name. She went around the world just speaking about peace. And these two men did the same thing. Now, there is, blessed are the peacemaker. That is the most remarkable thing. Somebody would call 14 members of my family. I don't think I know 14 members of my family. But anyway, would do such a, how could I befriend that person? Remarkable.
I've never understood that kind of forgiveness because that's somebody much more forward thinking than I am that says yes. I mean, I've used the line many times with young people. Okay, I don't care what happened yesterday. I don't even care what's happening today. I'm more worried about tomorrow. But it's so difficult. We don't do that, right?
No, we don't.
We
Yeah.
expect you to do it, but I'm not going to. Yeah, you can go ahead. You apologize to me. I'm not apologizing to you.
And by the way, speaking about that, when people, they'll say, I'm going to go to ask for forgiveness. What if they don't forgive me? So what? You asking for it, that is a healing thing to do. And you just saying, would you forgive me for that? And they say no. Okay,
Listen,
great. But you asked, that's medicinal.
There's
That's
a
medicinal.
lot of people that don't go to confession because they're afraid if they tell their sins, the priest, I've had it happen to me, but the priest just might say, "Oh yeah, I can't." No, why'd you do that? I had.
You had
that.
a priest say that one.
Yeah.
And you were sorry.
That's why I stopped going.
Yikes,
Okay.
yikes.
Yeah, it was
Yikes.
like, and I thought, no, wait a minute. It took me a lot to even come in here and start to talk about this. And now you're telling me, no, I can't forgive that. That you're just going to, oh no, that Actually, the words, you'll have to live with that. Okay. And I'm just telling you.
What the hell's the sacrament
Well,
for?
that was my point, and that's why. And when I told you I haven't gone for a long time, that's one of the reasons I thought, okay, wait a minute.
You'll have to. Of course, I will, but I want to be forgiven. You know, I want to be forgiven.
I mean, I don't expect you to just wave a wand and say. I would expect that there would be something in this that I need to reflect upon and get past, and learn from. No. It was just I can't. No, you're going to have to live with that.
There's only one time in my life whenever I did not
For all
offer.
eternity.
Yeah,
Mark.
I'm telling you, man.
Yeah,
It was
yeah,
like,
yeah,
well, I'm not going back to that. I mean, hell, I'm going to die anyway. I'm, why?
Someone told me the other day, a priest said to them, this is years ago, said, I don't know that I'm going to forgive you for that.
I'm telling you, that happened.
Who are you?
Yeah.
Or there one time in my life, whenever I did not give absolution to somebody and they were telling me something and they said, I know I'm going to go do it again. I know I can't get absolution. I said, yeah. So if you're telling me right now, you go out and do it again
It's hard
and
for
you're
me
not
to
even
say.
sorry.
Yeah. Jerry, you got something?
Yeah.
Yeah, Immaculate.
Immaculate. That's her name. Yeah.
The book is Left to Tell.
Yeah. I read that book.
Immaculata.
Yeah.
I got between Maria and Susie Brett.
Same
back and
thing,
forth trying to
different,
spell
you
the
know,
thing.
yeah.
Immaculata.
I read that book. It's a pretty good book. I was fascinated by that book. Anyway.
Don't expect anything in return except criticism. Jesus never said, I love when Gumbel wrote this, come to me and your troubles will be over. He never said, you buy into my stuff and you're on free space to do what you want. We are the conscience of humankind, and that can make us very unpopular. We may have to endure insults, ridicule, or worse, which certainly sounds like the world around us. I mean, he's basically talking about Christians, but saying that Christ never said, yeah, come over here, I got you. You're fine, I'll wipe all that out.
Look at the if you read the Bible with one thing in mind to check out the criticism Jesus got, it was constant.
Yeah.
Absolutely
It wasn't
constant.
like people were jumping on board and going, yeah, we got it. No. That's what I mean. To even come and talk about the Beatitudes, because they do conflict with the commandments. I mean, the message is the same, but that was the law. You got to follow. Now, here's this guy.
These are do's and don'ts versus here's a life to live.
Yeah, what's this guy doing here? I mean, we know what we're allowed to do and not allowed to do, and he's saying, "Blessed are the poor in spirit. Blessed are the What do you mean? Blessed are all these people?" Right? I mean, that was a challenge for those folks.
Yeah.
So, can we change the world around us if we try, but nobody listens, and worse, criticizes us? Gee, that doesn't happen at all in today's world, does it?
Yeah, and you're going to get criticism. So the big four, now we got brought down, we have four, and then four. The big four for changing the world, first of all, is to be merciful. Second of all, is to be pure of heart, which means I become myself. Third, lost it here for a second. What was it right before this one? Oh, blessed are the peacemaker.
Right.
The peacemaker who really tries to be that person, Corey ten Boom or something like that. And now expect to be criticized every step along the way.
Because we know that, and if you don't want to be criticized, you don't say anything. If you don't say anything, nobody's going to lash out at you. But even so, it's like if you witness a wrong or you feel something or we're not changing the world around us because sometimes we're worried about the blowback that we're going to get.
Let me ask you a question. I'll ask you guys a question. And you go, why do you think priests are afraid to change? Let me ask it to you this way, folks. Do you think the church needs to change in any way, shape, or form? Is there anything, what would you say are the biggest things you think that the church needs to change? What things do we priests need to change? Like in my parish, and maybe in my life, but why do you think priests are afraid to change? Anything. They'll change nothing.
Well, I think in some instances is because they know the people within their parish would rebel if they tried to do that. Because
that is the universal reason why.
I mean, if you're standing up there and you're thinking, well, I know they should be doing this, but holy moly, I'm going to get pinned to the wall for this one if I do it. So what do?
Yeah.
You walk away from it.
Yeah, you walk away. The biggest reason why the church is as it is right now, and we all know, I don't want to put words in your mouth, but I think we all know that radical change must occur. People are leaving the church in droves.
That's the thing.
In droves.
We are losing more than any other organized. The Catholic Church, the Catholic faith, is losing more people than any other organized religion. I read once that in 1 year, the Pew Research, I think it was last year, said than all of the others combined.
Well, I don't know about that. That's a
No,
lot.
we
That's
were
like a
out
lot.
leading. We're the nuns.
But why? Look at Pope Francis.
And I don't
People,
mean nun like sister.
I know. People hate that guy. These actually had threats against his life. This is the Pope, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
And God bless him, man. For his courage that he's like the synod on synodality. Oh my gosh.
Listen,
I
he
get to this stuff.
talked about. He said we need to look at these. It's not like he stood up at the St. Peter's. He came out and he was on the square and he's doing his weekly audience. And he said, from now on, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's the way it's going to be. He didn't say that at all. He's never said that. But he says, we need to look at, as we evolve and we move forward. But look what happened when he talked about women deacons. Maybe we need to look at that.
There's
Holy
Linda.
moly. And,
Linda and Rick
Linda right there
responded.
says patrimony. So,
Yeah.
so here's the Pope who has the synod and invites all these women to become part of all this. Oh my gosh, you would think, I don't know. And then the criticism, the incredible criticism he gets in all this. And God bless him for keep moving forward and all that. But that's the reason why, and I'll put myself in that boat too. I don't want to be sit around being criticized for every little thing that I do. But there's a deeper meaning behind all this, and I can't just allow that to stop everything we do.
And I think members of this parish would know this. There are times where you have talked to us and it's like, okay, this isn't where I was, but I think I need to get here. And I'm sorry that I haven't done that for you folk. We don't have enough of that at all. And I mean, not inside the church, but in society. We never, do you know how, as a society, it's really tough for us to admit we were wrong.
Yes, yeah.
Because it really wasn't that I was wrong. You didn't listen to me the way you took what I said in a wrong way, right? All right. 8 attitudes that Jesus urged on his disciples in the few minutes we have left. Let's just go for each one quickly. Being spiritually desperate for God.
Poor in spirit.
Okay. Weeping over our condition.
Mourning over our sinfulness. Blessed are those who mourn.
Allowing ourselves to be broken.
That would be blessed are those who are meek, that really realize who I am, and I'm comfortable in my own skin.
Being hungry for God.
Yeah, hunger for righteousness with God, everybody else. And there's the 4 things that'll make us happy.
Receiving forgiveness and being merciful.
That's the first thing we do to change the world.
And we don't, do we?
Very
No,
well.
Okay.
Very well.
Being completely sincere. I love that one because this is what Jesus said as he was getting his disciples ready to go out into the world after he was gone. Not now, but he's saying, be completely sincere.
And that would be clean of heart. Being clean of heart.
And how many of us are completely
Yeah,
sincere?
yeah. That's a tough one in our world today.
It's
a tough one.
And it doesn't have to be, though, right?
Yeah.
I mean, you get criticized if you tell the truth. If you stand up and tell the Jerry, you're looking at
I'm agreeing with you, but it's Augustine's definition of love, willing the good of the other as other, and the as other is the key part.
Yeah.
That's absolutely no strings attached. Not that I'm going to get anything out of that love. It's just loving you
as other.
as
yeah.
other.
strive to bring peace.
Yeah, blessed are the peacemakers. They will
And
see
that
God.
doesn't, that's not, we're not talking about détente, back the word
right,
with the
right, right.
Russian.
We're
and-
not-
I mean,
yeah,
we're just
we're
talking
right.
about a little peace within your own world.
Not talk about
maybe
détente.
Buying the world a Coke.
Yeah.
Yeah. Just,
You want to go back to the marketing thing, yeah. And that's all it was going to take. If we all like to teach the world to
Just
sing
sing,
and we
yeah,
drink a
drink a
Coke, we're
Coke,
going to
yeah.
everything, and finally expecting nothing in return except
Nothing in
persecution.
return. So when you die, don't expect everybody to have a big party for you. Yeah, man. When you die, people say all the nice things about you. Well, you're living, kind of. Yeah, but so don't be expecting, a big parade sometime or other in your life. And I think that's important. None of us need a parade. We don't need a parade.
I think it was a good. I think it's a more constructive thing when someone said, maybe many have said it, that we should be replacing the 10 Commandments in front of the courthouse with the 8 Beatitudes.
Yeah, that would be good. That'd be good. Somebody said it in there. I didn't see
No,
that.
they didn't say that. It's
That's pretty good,
something I
though.
heard somewhere.
That's pretty good.
But yeah, I mean, and again, we're not disavowing the 10 Commandments, but the Beatitudes might be more in tune to, and very simplistic. I mean, okay, the commandment says, thou shalt not kill. Yeah, I got it. I understand what that means. Although it doesn't necessarily mean take the life of somebody. It can mean the abstract is,
Right, right,
you
right.
know,
Yeah.
about injuring, harming, you know, killing a friendship, killing.
Even the catechisms, the morality is based on the Ten Commandments rather than the Beatitudes.
So can we? I want to leave you with this then. So we can change the world as long as we realize we're not going to change it all overnight.
I think we can. I think we can. And I don't think I've ever had a better conversation about the Beatitudes in my life than this right here. This is
And
good.
we're going to talk about the Beatitudes more now, aren't we?
Yeah, maybe we will.
I
Yes, we
mean,
will.
seriously, I think there's so much to be learned there that people
Yeah.
don't understand. And if they didn't see it with us tonight, or they don't watch us this week, I think whether it's in the bulletin or we just kind of reinforce that, because it's a good thing for us to do.
So what are we doing next week?
We one of the things we're going to do, and I knew you were going to do this to me. Do you know what chapter 7 is? You got
Yes,
the book.
yes.
We're going to talk a little bit about being thankful. Do we know how to be thankful? Are we thankful enough? Or does that mean that you have to rush out and give somebody something? Or if you can just, I mean, it could be as simple as I open the door for you and you say thank you. 'Cause
Right.
a lot of people
Welcoming.
don't welcoming or something like that. And how to live and act with integrity.
I think this is a huge challenge in life.
You know
Huge
what?
challenge.
Because there's so many people that are around us who
That wants you to lie about everything. Yes.
and wouldn't know integrity if it hit them in the face. Yeah. I'm not going to talk about it.
And we should look up sometime. There's a statistic, Tom, that said what percentage of people would lie to get their own benefit, right, without any qualms at all. It's very high.
I was going to say, I think it would be real if you're being honest.
Yes.
If you're not lying to yourself.
It'd be very high.
All right, Father, time to say goodbye.
Thank you very much, folks, for watching us. I'm grateful, and we'll see you next week as we do our special Thanksgiving version of Follow Your Faith next week. And how do you and I live as people of integrity? That is a very important question. So looking forward to seeing you again next week. Bye now.
Bye.